All right, Mike. You know, we gave some thought. We're not experts on the PGA Tour. We have opinions, but we're not insiders. We're not there every week watching events,
Wait, I
participating. Go ahead.
say you probably watch more golf than anyone on the
I
planet.
do, but I'm not on the ground every week like a journalist might be,
Okay.
right? However, we are experts, and you in particular are an expert in one area, and that is club events. A man
right.
who has contended for Player of the Year, Pody, is that what we call it? Pody trophies.
That's
Pody.
right.
A man who pursues Pody with vigor, and this year again on a quest for Pody
Every year.
every year. The best Player of the Year event, though, at any club, I think, is the member. Am I right? Do you think
You're
that is
right.
it's
Yes,
got to be?
It is. It is the most competitive by far, right? Like I've fallen in love with opening day. I think it's it symbolizes the start of the season. It's fun. Like where we're members, they do a great job with it. But yes, like if you're talking, where the rubber hits the road, where the bragging rights are born, where rivalries are forged, it's member. Like
It's
that's
member.
the tournament. It's a tournament you have to win.
And if you're not familiar with that, a member, there are a lot of club events, and this is not just a private course thing. This is semi-private, even public courses that take on individual members have these type of events. But this is not just a typical partnership event like an opening day or maybe a Memorial Day scramble or something like that. This is the highest tier of partnership events. Most courses, of course, have a member guest, which is a little bit different animal, right? You're bringing in outsiders. It's a little bit of a showcase. It's kind of the show pony, right? It's like kind of the Kentucky Derby for a golf course, but this is like the Preakness, the member. It's the one that really you get to see the thoroughbreds at their best. And the member is it. It's where you play typically 5 matches over the course of 2, sometimes 3 days. And those matches aren't just your normal 4-ball or best ball. They take on different formats. Most clubs have some version of a scramble, an alternate shot, and then, of course, the best ball, handicapped, broken down by flights, usually 6 teams in a flight. You play each other. Anyway, I don't want to insult our listeners, but I want to make sure that everybody understood the type of member we're talking about. Let me ask you this, Mike, as an expert in members, what is the right format? What's the right perfect format? If you're setting this up, what is the best format for a 9-hole match?
So I'm going to tread lightly because
You don't want to upset anybody.
I don't want to upset anybody.
Yeah.
But it is first off, let's talk about the days. It has to be either a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or a Thursday, Friday, Saturday. It cannot be a 4-day tournament because to me, member is all about, 3 things. Winning,
Winning,
2,
number 1.
setting the standard with your significant other that for the next 3 days, I am out of the loop.
Right.
This is clear your calendar. I'm going to need a ride there. I'm going to need a ride home. And I'm going to have to be exempt from all responsibilities because I want to have those 3 days where I'm not working. I am playing golf, trying to win the member. And when you split it up with, a morning wave, an afternoon wave that starts Wednesday, creeps into Thursday, a little bit of Friday, you're still having to do your day job. I don't like it. So to me, the best format in terms of days is Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
And number 3 is alcohol. I'm sorry. Maybe I injected too much. You said there was 3 things.
Yes, number 3 is overall vibe of the tournament, alcohol being the key contributor to that.
Okay, so 3-day. Again, you might have a practice round in the morning, have a 9-hole match in the afternoon, a couple 9-hole matches the next 2 days, then your shootout. But those 9-hole matches, where you're kind of matched up with teams that have a likewise combined handicap, what do you think those matches should look like? I know clubs have been doing this many different ways.
So I don't necessarily love where you have 9 holes and it's 3 holes best ball, 3 holes alt shot, 3 holes scramble. I don't think that necessarily lends itself to getting any sort of momentum. I would prefer to see if you're playing, we'll use 5 matches as kind of the baseline here, whether it be through random draw, that each of those 9-hole matches retains the same format throughout all 9 holes. I like that. I like the fact that you can get going in a scramble and then you can pivot in the afternoon session to either alt shot, which by the way I think is the best format in this event. I love alt shot. We can talk about that later. But
I've seen friendships destroyed during member alternate shot. I've literally seen people not talk to each other for years.
I thrive in alt shot. I mean, it's something comes over me where I turn into a scratch golfer in alt shot, and any partner that's ever played with alt shot with me will attest to that. But I don't like the 3-3-3 format. To me, it's fun. Don't get me wrong, but I just feel like you get something going with your partner, and it's like, stop. Now we're going to do this. So I don't necessarily love that. I like being able to have a consistent 9-hole format, and you just vary it throughout the tournament.
What I don't want is 9 holes of best ball. I just don't want that. I think
Why?
that's what member guests are for. I don't know, man. I like the idea of maybe a shamble or a select drive alternate shot.
Oh, okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like I
Yes.
just I want to see something a little more unique where you actually have to play with your partner. Like you have to play each other's golf balls. And then you can call all kinds of crazy rules violations or an alternate shot when, someone takes their golf ball out of their pocket on the green and uses it instead of the one that you teed off with. And you can call a 2-stroke penalty, which we've done in the past.
You've done that?
No, we actually got into literally fisticuffs with some of our great friends. This is the other thing great about member. He's like, you can come to blows with even your best friends. And one of my dear friends that we were playing in a match did that on the green, and we called him on it, and he got fighting mad. We didn't give him a penalty, but we wanted to get him revved up. And they proceeded to lose the next 3 holes to us because we knew it would get under his skin. Gamesmanship, man. Member's all about gamesmanship too, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I mean, I had a little incident last year.
Oh, yeah.
With gimmies, and hey, that's good. And then a few holes later, it's like you're going to reciprocate that, and I don't know, that doesn't look good to me. And I kind of went off the deep end real quick, like to the extent where after like 3 holes after this happened, I had to step aside with the guy and be like, listen, like, apologies. This is all I have is this tournament. I want to win it more than anything. And I think it was BS. I still don't agree with it, but let's still have fun because this has been miserable since I, read you the riot act and put you in your place for being a terrible golfer.
I had someone make me putt an 8-inch putt last year, and a really good dude, one of the best dudes in the club. You know him. We actually talked about him this week. Great guy. But they were leading the flight, and it was about an 8-inch putt, and on the 8th hole, and he made me putt it. And afterwards, I didn't mind. I putted, I knocked it in, no big deal. He apologized profusely. I'm like, dude, you can't make me putt it, then apologize. If you make me putt it, just walk to the next tee. But you don't get to apologize for making me putt it. Like, let's move on. But I love member for that type of stuff. That little just poke in the side. It's kind of fun.
Yeah, but all right. So here's the thing, and we'll talk about this when we get into partners. But there's nothing worse though than having a flight where you don't know anybody.
Yeah.
Because half the fun is people in the flight.
Yeah.
You know them well. You know their game. You can rib them the whole time. That's like anything. If you get paired with a flat group or a group that you don't know, that's to me that's really deflates the whole thing. So
and that's
to me
why
every year it's like the flights come out and I'm nervous. Like that's to me the most nervous I am all weekend is, oh my gosh, who am I playing with? Because I want it to be fun, and then you see it, you're like, oh no, or oh great.
Well, member guests are worse that way too, because it's like, and then you get maybe a guest who's not comfortable or those, at least member, you feel like you're all part of the same party, even though you may not hang out with the same crowd. Anyway, that's why I think it has it over it. What's the best part of member weekend? Is it the matches? Is it the pari-mutuel betting, which is just chef's kiss on the member? Is it the food and beverage, which is usually elite at most clubs for member? Is it the shootout and watching your buddies puke all over themselves, literally and figuratively, after 3 baked days in the sun and drinking, trying to hit alternate shots onto a difficult hole? What's your best part of member?
So, personally, I love getting pumped up for it. Like, I treat it like I'm a professional golfer. I know other people like show up, they're hungover, they went out to dinner with their buddies afterwards, which is great. But like, I'm there before the sun's up, getting loose. Like, it is my one and only time in life that still exists where I can act like I'm a professional athlete, even though I've never been a professional athlete. But, I got pump up music, I'm stretching, I'm at the range, I'm not talking to people, head down, let's go. We're here to win this tournament. That being said, probably the most fun I have is when we've been eliminated and I just let it loose and say, well, this is great, let's go watch the shootout now. Because inevitably, in my experience, there comes a time, and usually it's with my partner, that will look at me and say, dude, it's over. Like, we gave it our best. And I hope the day comes where we don't have that conversation and we're gearing up for the shootout, because I've been in a shootout before. I advanced in the shootout 3 years ago with my partner at Member, and it was the greatest day of my life. The adrenaline, it was like I was back in Iraq fighting a war. I searched for that high, and I found it at Nashville Golf in the shootout at Member.
Mike, you have run patrol in Iraq with people shooting at you, and you've dealt with your adrenaline need, whatever weird psychology goes into the military mindset, with the member at Nashville Golf.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's what I'm hearing you say.
And
You are
I
a special
yearn.
snowflake.
I yearn to get back in the shootout. And I let my partner know every year, like, this is the goal. It's less about fun and more about winning. And that's how I usually ruin relationships with my partners. But
So the shootout is great. I love the alternate shot shootout. You see dudes hit shots, even good players, that they would. It is the pressure. There's 30 carts behind the green. People are catcalling. There's betting going on all over the place. It's unbelievable. I don't think there is a golf event you can participate in that is more fun, either viewing or participating in the shootout at a member. Am I right?
completely agree. Yes,
it's got to be the
because
best.
They got the beverage cart following.
Yeah.
Anytime there's just like easy access to booze. And again, if you're new to member, your listener, you have to set the expectation with your significant other that I'm doing this, and it wasn't.
It's best just to ask them to leave town, right? Like, I'm going to Uber home. You need to go visit your mother.
Hell, there's guys that are spending nights in the clubhouse, and
true.
I don't blame them.
I had one spend the night at my house last year because my spouse was out of town that weekend, and so I basically had a hotel going for a night. It was pretty funny.
A few years ago, my wife and I, pretty solid marriage, but it was at its rockiest when it was the post member like night 2 dinner, and we're at a hibachi place, and it didn't go well.
You did not put your best foot forward.
Did not go well at hibachi.
You did not catch the shrimp in your mouth when the chef threw it at your face, I'm guessing.
Oh no, I was no, and no. We had to buy a lot of dinners that night for families.
Last year, we got home. I woke up on my couch after taking a short quote-unquote nap, and I looked out my back window into my pool, and 2 of our buddies were in their underwear. I didn't even know they were coming over in my pool drinking my beer, and it was the most beautiful sight I've ever seen.
Member, baby.
Member. How do you pick a partner, dude? What is the strategy for partnering up? Do you want to play with your best buddy, or do you want to find competitive or complementary pieces and put them together? So I've done both.
So I haven't. My formula has been very consistent that I will take my handicap, and for reference, in Nashville Golf, it's a 10-stroke max, right? So your differential between handicap. So if I'm a 10, I'm like John Calipari, I'm like Lane Kiffin, Nick Saban, I'm recruiting. I am recruiting. I'm like, hey, listen, you're one of the better golfers at the club. You've struggled. You want to get into the shootout. Why don't you come slum it with me in like the 4th flight as the premier player?
Yeah.
I'll step up. You and I can run the table. You hit some good shots. I'll hit some great shots, and we'll win this thing. I've done it. I've had 2 partners at member since I've been a member at a club. The 1 year it went great. We advanced in the shootout. We won. Well, we advanced through 3 holes of the shootout, and then I blew it. It was a 12-foot putt, and I think I've mentioned it before that I put 24 feet past the hole. Tough. Live with that to this day. And then I had this and you know the player. His name's Jake, one of the best players at the club. And I had this guilt when
Yes, the guilt factor, man.
Before we even got off the green, I was like, next year. And I could tell he was like, I think I could probably do pretty well with someone more close to my skill level. And so I had a very... he didn't say that, but
that's hard. Getting dumped is hard, man.
I could read his face, and being the good friend that I am, as I set him free. I said, "Wait a minute, let me break up for you. Go win it, buddy. Go find a partner." No, he hasn't made it back to the shootout since then. But I let him free, and
Hope he's
it's
listening.
great.
It's funny.
Then,
Go ahead.
I didn't learn my lesson, and I went after a very good golfer, probably one of the best putters at the club, and convinced him to join me last year. He's again my partner, which I'm shocked at because we are oil and vinegar. And so if it doesn't work this year, again, I may do the set you free, go find someone else. And then I'm going to go for someone that's more my skill level, my energy, my kind of competitive nature.
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head. If you're a middle to high handicapper, you want a low handicap player. And if you're a low handicap player, if you really want to win, right? If it's not just about ego and playing against the other low handicap players and your buddies and you want to find a good middle to high handicap player who will win some holes for you with net eagles and stuff like that. And there's guys out there. There's 8-9s out there. You're one of them. You might make a couple doubles, but you're going to make a couple net eagles too. And that's the partner.
Damn
you
right.
want. Yeah, that's the
Damn
one you
right,
want.
man.
So that's the best strategy. But I do agree, you want to avoid the close friend. One of my first ones at Nashville Golf, I played with Pat, who I love, one of our great friends, a regular listener of the podcast. And man, I felt the whole time the weight of letting him down. He's a middle handicap player, and he's doing what he does, a couple good holes, a couple bad holes. And every time I hit a bad shot, I just I'm letting my guy down. I'm letting my buddy down. A couple years later, and he dumped me. He dumped me in the middle of the fourth match. We were out of it by the middle of the fourth match, and we're walking down the seventh hole.
It's a bold play.
White claws in hand, and he basically dumped me right there. It was not a gentle letdown. It was a fairly aggressive dumping. There's a picture of me sitting quietly upon the tee box on the next hole, contemplating all things in life. But I don't blame him. At the moment, I'm like, I get it. I'd dump me too if I were you. A couple years later, I played with a guy that we all know, but I never really played with before, and we just thought we'd be good partners, and we were great partners. Now, we didn't win our flight, but we were competitive in a really good flight. But it was not the feeling of like, oh, I don't want to let my buddy down. It was like, okay, let's go and show this dude we can play. And it was a good time. But we were both kind of low handicaps, and that did not translate well to our flight. So you got to balance it out, low to high handicaps. It's always good to have someone who can bomb it. Like you're a good partner, and there's a couple of others at the club that are good partners. They're kind of that 7, 8, 9 range, but they can bomb it because that translates well if you are playing a scramble and certainly playing alternate shot. If you need you to go for a par 5 and 2 after I hit a good tee shot, for example, you really don't want to find the middle handicap player who can't hit it hard, right? Am I fair in saying that?
Absolutely. And again, I'm going to go on record here, Josh. I'm a scratch golfer in alternate shot. I will go toe-to-toe with any golfer at the club in alt shot.
So what's the
I don't know
alternate
what
shot
it is.
strategy? Tell me what it is. When you're playing with your partners, how do you plan your alternate shot holes? Even if it's just 3 holes.
All right, so let's say it's easy. We sit down, and if it's on alternating format where someone has to take the alternate tee shot, which is pretty standard, it's like, okay, not only who do we want to take a tee shot where it's maybe, a riskier OB or I can really screw something up, but what's the approach look like? And so you kind of back into that, right? Like, okay, I want you taking the second shot. So for example, I'll use one at Nashville Golf, which I know we always refer to. I'm sorry to the listeners, but let me try to paint this picture. It's a relatively straightforward tee shot. As long as you don't go too long, you can miss right really far, still have a shot. You can go down the middle. Left, you're kind of screwed. The second shot is it takes an incredibly skilled golfer to put the ball on the green. You're going over water. It's a sloping green into the water with no embankment to stop it.
It's about the width of your forearm. It's terrible.
Yeah. On the right, it's protected by 2 different bunkers that if you're in and you try to get up, it's going to roll in the water. You need someone that can put the ball on the green and stop it. That's not my shot, right? So in that instance, listen, let me just take a 5-wood and put the ball in play, let my scratch golfer put it on the green, and I'll make the putt. That's kind of where it's not just about the tee shot. It's about the approach and really looking at the hole holistically of where do we think the hardest shot is, and let's backwards plan so that the better.
You want the best player hitting the hardest shot.
Absolutely.
Gotcha. That makes sense. I get it. How about par 5s? Do you like the best player hitting 2 full shots, or do you like the idea of letting the best player hit the second shot?
No, give me the driver off the tee. I'm going to put you down there, and I'm a lot more comfortable with doing that than putting a 3-wood in my hand and letting it rip, because that's a 50-50 exercise.
Yeah.
At that point.
So this is why I like having, even if you're a middle handicapper, you can hit it hard. Because there are guys who are 8 handicaps, and they're 8 handicaps because they bogey every hole. You know what I'm saying? They're bogey 10 holes around, and they make 8 pars, and that's their round. I want the guy who's going to make 4 doubles, but also rip the ball off the tee half a dozen times as well.
Feast your famine, baby.
That's right. I need that guy. You don't want the 10 handicap who is a bogey golfer. Just like same way with your low handicaps. You want a guy who's going to make a bunch of birdies too, which is why I'm not a great partner, because I'm a low handicap player sometimes who makes a bunch of pars, which doesn't do anything for you when you're a low handicap.
I will say, you have to really. So this is where chemistry and knowing your partner comes in. I let my partner know, you're the best player in the flight. Act like it. That doesn't.
You
always
put
go over
expectations. You have no. You're not shy about it at all.
Oh no! Like, you're here for a reason, pal. Like, we're using each other. This isn't because we're friends and we're out here to laugh. Like, you're using me to get into an easier flight, and I'm using you to get me through this flight. So yeah, like, I'm gonna remind you, like, that's not a shot that one of the best golfers in the course should miss. So figure it out.
What's the right way to dump a partner? I got to know this in case I've been dumped. But what's the right way to do it? And I'm not saying dumping a guy in the middle of your 4th match is wrong. I think it's circumstantial. But what is the right way?
Well, it's
Email.
like quitting your job, man. You don't break up with your partner until you got another one lined up.
Good strategy.
Right?
Yeah.
And then you just kind of let them down easy. Like, for example, you're so much better than me. I feel like I'm the one holding you back. Why don't go find a partner that's of the same skill and go win this thing, man. Go get this thing.
Patrick, you listening to that? That's the right way to dump somebody. That's how you do it, right there.
I'm very surprised that Pat dumped you, because
Dump me.
He
was also getting his boyfriend Ryan back for the next year as a partner. So he had his partner lined up. He had all the strategies. He just decided to do it right in the middle of the 4th match, and probably drove me into a 5-day alcoholic stupor, if I must admit.
There's tournament players and there's guys that aren't tournament players, and I think it's very rich that a not tournament caliber player broke up with you. I love Pat, but
hurt my heart.
I think he's broken a club before, and remember.
I had to fish one out of a tree. So, love you, Pat. Okay, what's the right prize? You win this thing. You've emerged as the champion.
Oh.
You have won the shootout in front of your friends. You've chipped the ball closer when you had to. You have survived the 17-team shootout, and now you are being crowned. You got to get more than a trophy, don't you? What is the right way for the club to honor you?
I want a trophy.
Okay.
I want the biggest trophy in the club, right?
It should be bigger than the club championship, right? I think it's a more significant trophy than the club championship.
On par. Let's call them even, right? Like, better design, cooler, but same side. So I want a trophy. I want my name on it. I want my partner's name on it. I want to be sprayed with champagne on the 18th green or whatever green we're finishing alt shot. I don't want people to just kind of dissipate into the background. Like, I want it to be a big time celebration, and I want my parking spot. I think I want my partner and I to have parking spots at the front of the club with my name on the plate. It says Mike Nealon, member, with my partner, champion. Don't park here unless you have permission from him, because he won it and that's his parking spot. I don't want to pay for a cart. I want to pretty much, aside from paying my dues monthly, I don't want to have to pay for a thing.
So you think
I should have a member.
You should get cart allowance.
Absolutely. And I want a signature drink. I want the member's signature drink on the menu.
Mike, that is the sexiest answer. I need to go spend some time by myself. That was fantastic. I think you nailed it.
Those are my demands.
I'm in. I think now the cart thing might be tough, but the parking spot, absolutely. Like, it's got to happen, right? Like, that should be. Happen. Like, I don't care about who your club champion is. When I go to another club and they got the parking spot marked for our men's club champion, I could give 2 turds. But if you show me the member champion parking spot, I will revere that spot because I know what it took to win it. You had to go through the shootout. No club champions ever had to go through an alternate shot shootout in front of their drunk buddies who were betting on them to fail. Most club championships end unceremoniously with 5 people watching the 2 dudes who most people don't even like, finishing it out on the last hole. Nobody cares. We care about the member champion. Give them their parking spot, management. Let's go.
And I also want my name placard on my locker to say champion.
Just champion.
I want people to know,
all know what it means.
I'm the member champ. Like when I walk in a room, they're like, there's a champ. There's a champ.
Mike, it's going to be you this year. I feel like karma is going to lead it your way,
Well, that's up to my partner.
especially with your driver now functioning properly. All right. That was our primer. That was well done. You've given me much to think about for the next member. And we're going to leave it there for our podcast today. Hayden's going to be joining us next week. He is going to Valhalla to spectate the PGA Championship. He's going to give us his thoughts on the preview pod next Monday. And Mike, dude, it was so good having you back. Thank you for coming back to me. Thank you for coming back. They don't always come back to me, Mike. It was nice. I got to admit.
I'm not Pat.
Let's do it again next week. We'll see you, brother.
Bye.